Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Reality versus Expectations, where I get people from different careers and have them write 5 to 10 different cards on what they thought their career was going to be like versus what it's actually like. On this episode, I have my guest Zubin, who has his master's in industrial engineering and has worked in a number of industrial engineering fields and currently works in supply chain management and logistics. With that being said, I'm going to have him introduce himself more. Hey Zubin, thank you for being a guest on my show, Reality versus Expectations. And I've been asked so much about industrial engineering. And finally, you reached out to me to be a guest. Can you talk about your experience being an industrial engineer, as well as where did you go to school?
Sure. Thanks, Matt, for having me on the show. I'm an industrial engineer, and I did my master's in industrial engineering from NC State, North Carolina State University in Raleigh. I graduated back in 2014, and I have had chances to work in multiple domains within IE, from manufacturing, consulting, procurement, etc. Currently, I work for a logistics company here in Nashville. I also help industrial engineers at industrialinsight.com.
Can you tell me about some of the actual roles that you did? Imagine you're describing to someone who's never seen your kind of work, which is probably most of my audience. What exactly have you done at your jobs and your internships? Like specifically, very, very specific verbs. Like I did Excel, I did programming, I did modeling, very specific things so that the audience can get an image of what you actually did.
I work for many companies, so I would just describe some job roles which I did. When I graduated college, I did a short training for a data analytics consulting company called Mu Sigma, where I did a project for Walmart, and it was basically analyzing their 275 stores in China. And, basically they wanted to have a certain guideline when they want to start a new store. They had this data with them, and based on that data, what they wanted to know was when they open a store, they should have the data in place, meaning what store will be a good revenue generator for us, which kind of product we should use more, where we should use more, stuff like that. We did a lot of SQL. The back end of it was in R. It's a programming language. So there was a combination of a lot of things, but in most of it was advanced Excel, R, and SQL.
And then what about your next job?
I worked for a procurement consulting firm called Procurement Advisors in Atlanta.
What's procurement in one sentence?
In one sentence, anything which a company sources, like goods and materials, a company sources or a company buys from another company or from a distributor manufacturer. So like I said, we did a lot of procurement projects. So one was with Duracell. Duracell was one of our companies in our network, and we had a lot of companies which used Duracell batteries. I basically designed certain business models for our clients where I told them that these are the batteries you are buying, these are the batteries Duracell is offering, these are the costs which we are looking at, these are the savings which we are looking at, and based on all this data to just provide recommendations to clients what kind of particular product for Duracell is the most efficient.
How would you do that kind of calculations?
So we used Excel again. If you ask me about the tool, so we do Excel, and then there was advanced Excel in that where we developed dashboards and some sort of automation based on macros and power pivots and stuff like that.
All right, and then let's go over your current job. What do you do at your current job exactly?
My current job is at CO Logistics. Our client is Dell, and we do. My job is basically order fulfillment for Dell. So every day we receive thousands and thousands and thousands of orders from customers all over the world. We have from Argentina, we have from USA, and all different countries. And my job is basically to fulfill those orders to the customers. I have to analyze what kind of SKUs are required the most, what's the size of orders which we need to fulfill today. So let's say today, Sunday, we have to fulfill like, I don't know, 6,000 orders. So I have to make sure that these 6,000 orders go out at the door and get delivered to the customer.
How do you make sure that happens? Like, what exactly do you do to make sure that happens?
So, I mean, we have company softwares, and company softwares, they allow us to see where the product is, at which stage, if it's either at the door, if it's just received, if it's going at the shipping, if it's into packing, if the hourly workers are, doing any repackaging for them. And so yeah, I mean, you basically get visibility into where that order is. And at every hour, basically, you just need to make sure that your commitment is reached, and the orders are getting fulfilled smoothly.
What else is in your role?
A lot of it is also managing people. So you will see that there are lots of hourly workers which do this picking and packing and labeling and palletizing on the shop floor. And so a lot of it is interacting with them, and talking with them, seeing if there are any problems or issues, troubleshooting those, and make sure you just stay on the top of the game.
All right, so you had some cards prepared for us. What's your first card?
Sure. So I have my first card here as job experience, and basically what all this is about is, when I started industrial engineering, I expected that I will be in manufacturing all my life. I'll be sticking with manufacturing, and or I will be doing desk job all my life. Well, it turns out what I realized was, since industrial engineering is so broad, you can basically enter any domain. There are so many domains within IE.
What are some of the domains?
So there is manufacturing, there is consulting, there is procurement, there is data analytics. And I mean, what I realized was, basically, IEs can virtually work in any industry, virtually work in any company. You will see people working in software companies, those are IEs. You will see people working in manufacturing companies, which are IEs. So, I mean, before, when I started, I didn't really know about it, but as I went through the IE journey, it was pretty evident.
Just do it!
Which would you say is the fastest growing industry out of all the IE industries?
Oh, that's a good question, and I get this question all the time. If you really ask me, there are many industries in IE, but particularly data analytics, you will see this as a new trend, and you will see companies, they really want a lot of people who are into analytics and data scientists or data science. This is a growing and emerging field, I would say, and companies really want people who have an analytics background, or students who have done research or complex data work.
So you would say data analytics is probably the best one, and as an industrial engineer, you kind of may understand the logistics and supply chain data better than even a data scientist, because you actually know the field.
Right. I mean, as an industrial engineer, you will come across complex amounts of data once you start working. If you ask me my data, we deal with a lot of orders and inventory and SKUs and demand planning and stuff like that. So there's a lot of data into it, and as an industrial engineer, what you really want to do is try to, especially with data analytics, what you really want to do is try to gather insights from that huge amount of data, and provide the best solution for it.
So basically, use data to make a business more efficient.
Yep. I mean, you can tell that, and that's the thing. If you go to any university's industrial engineering page, these are the common terms where they say industrial engineers solve complex data and make it more efficient. And I mean, when I started, I really didn't understand what that was about, but now it makes much more sense.
So what's your next card for us?
All right, certifications. When I was applying for jobs, for industrial engineers, when I was graduating college, this was one of the the common things which people used to tell me that you need to have certification in order to get a job. And whenever I used to apply for a job, you have that job requirements thing. When you scroll down at the bottom, you see requirements section. So this was one common thing where companies will mention Six Sigma certification is a requirement for this job, or green belt or black belt or whatever. And it kind of scared me because I didn't have any certification, and I didn't even know what, if it really was expected to get a job. So I started asking people, and I started asking seniors and professors and all kinds of people. What I realized later was certifications really are just a nice to have, but not a must have in order for you to get your first job. There are so many different aspects of certification. So what I really recommend people is if your goal is really to get a job, you shouldn't really do certification. So I mean, I'm not against certifications, but it's just sort of a nice to have, not like a must have thing in your profile. I'm not against certifications. Certifications definitely help. They really enhance your profile. But if you come across this question, you will see most of the time this question comes from people who are looking to get a job. And they just want to do certifications because they feel that if they add that on their resume, they will get a job. Well, in reality, that it isn't true, because there are many jobs which don't require certifications. There are many jobs which, even though they have a requirement of a certification, they will still hire you based on other aspects. So I just feel if your goal is to get a job, do not worry on certifications. If you really want to do certifications, feel free to do it.
Perfect. I think we covered that card extensively. So let's go to the next card.
My next card is coding. There is a misconception that industrial engineers require less coding and they are more into the business side of things. They are more of the MBA person, and they manage things and peoples and processes. And what I realized was it to some extent that is true, but in reality, you can sort of design your profile, and you can sort of really go into an industry or do a job based on what you want to do. So if you really like coding, there are many jobs within industrial engineering which require coding. At the same time, there are many jobs which require little or no coding at all. So it really depends on what kind of job you want to do, what kind of role you want to do, what kind of projects you want to do.
So then if someone wants to do more of the decoding stuff, they would do more of the data stuff. And then if they want to do more of the management stuff, they'd probably do more of the manufacturing stuff. Is that correct?
I mean, I would say there are many jobs which require no coding. They require you to work with work with data and statistical tools. Now, they do require coding to some extent, but like I said, there are many jobs which will require you to code 70% of the time. There are many jobs which will require you to code, I don't know, I'm just making this up, maybe 20% of the time. So it sort of depends. So what I would say is, before you get a job, you need to really understand what this job entails.
Well, how would they know if that job is going to involve a lot of coding or not?
There are many aspects. So one would be to check the job requirements or the responsibilities when you apply for a job. See if you really come across more softwares as opposed to managing processes or improving processes. Two, when you are interviewing, you can basically ask such questions where you can ask now at this job of mine, when I was interviewed, I mean, I really asked them such questions where I asked them if this job will require coding, or if yes, what sort of coding, how much, and what sort of tools we'll use. So before, I mean, I'm sure, people before they apply, they will have certain idea of how much coding that job would have, but really, truly, deeply understanding definitely makes sense.
All right, so what's your next card, Zubin?
Next card is salaries. This is a question which I get a lot of time, and I'm sure you do too, which is basically what is the typical salary of an industrial engineer, what's expected out of them, what is like the benchmark. After analyzing many jobs, I realized that a good number, if you were to ask me, for a starting industrial engineer would fall between 60 to 65K. Now, there are many different elements to, when we talk about salary. So I know people who are industrial engineers who have gotten higher salaries. I know people who have gotten lower salaries too. So it sort of depends on many factors, what your degree is, if you have a bachelor's or a master's, if you have had a work experience or you are a fresher, or, based on your location, if you are on the East Coast or West Coast. But the general benchmark, I would say, falls typically in the 60 to 65K salary range.
I mean, that's not too bad of a salary range. That's about the same salary range as a mechanical engineer, as well as a civil. So nothing out of ordinary.
Yeah, I mean, and do you get this question a lot? Like people, they are confused between which majors to select, like mechanical engineering or industrial engineering. And the next question they ask is, how much does a mechanical engineering earn versus how much does an industrial engineering earn?
But it's about the same, in all honesty. And if you're better at one thing, you might as well just do the thing that you're better at. So
right, I know. That makes sense.
Thank you for covering the salary, though. I mean, that's a really important subject, commonly asked. I guess, what's your next card then? I guess there's not much to say about that one.
And the final card is courses, classes to take. I thought, taking courses, and especially math-related courses like calculus, algebra, will be really extensively used once I graduate and I start working. So I really took a couple of classes which were math or algebra related. In job, what is required is, most of the time you will come across math, but it won't be like such complex equations or formulas which you learned back in college.
What, you mean you're not going to be solving for x and the first derivative of y with the respect to z?
Not. Definitely not. I mean, very little or rare case, but I would say 90 to 95% of the time you won't come across such mathematical equations.
So then, if they shouldn't focus on their math classes, which classes should they focus on?
That's a good question. So I basically recommend my readers to focus within IE, to take any of the classes. Like, obviously, all universities will have different classes and stuff, but my basic recommendation would be to take any class which deal in forecasting. So you will see almost every university will have a class which has forecasting, so where basically they teach you forecasting concepts, topics, and maybe they even make you work on softwares. Second thing, what I recommend is to take any class which is on simulation. So simulation, I mean, there is a specific software called Arena Simulation, and it's a great software. Many companies use it. And the third thing is, like I said, since I know data analytics is such an emerging trend, so any statistical software which helps in understanding data, like there is Excel, there is advanced Excel, there is Minitab, there is R, and other software. So basically, any such classes which deal with these elements will definitely help you.
So say someone decides to become an industrial engineer and they want to choose the most exciting and best paying industrial engineering industry to work for. They don't want to waste their time working for a really boring industry. Which industry should they strive to work for?
I would say try to play around. Like, when I was looking for internships, I saw many of my friends doing internships. Some would work for manufacturing, some would do consulting, and I really wanted to get the lay of the land. So I did these volunteering projects for many companies. These were consulting companies and these were manufacturing companies. So basically, not to just to get an understanding of which field is good for me and what stuff I like more. If you ask me purely on salary basis, I would say data analytics or data scientist, these kind of job roles, they definitely are in great requirement, and companies pay really well too.
How hard is it to get a job as an industrial engineer? Is the job market looking good or job market looking bad, would you say?
Well, if you ask me personally, I would say industrial engineering is such a field where you can get a job at any company. Trust me, any company. You basically can walk up to a store, tell them that I can give them 10 ideas that I can improve so and so and so, and chances are that you have learned that stuff in college, and they might get you a job. This is just an imaginary situation, but what I'm trying to say is it's not tough to get a job within IE because of its broad nature. You can go into so many different domains. But yeah, I mean, with any field, there is obviously some elements and challenges of getting a job if you are a fresher, or if you don't have experience, or if your resume doesn't look good. But on a very general level, I would say it's pretty comparatively much less challengeful to get a job within IE.
Thank you, Zubin, for being a guest on Reality versus Expectations. Where can my viewers go to learn more?
So I run a site called industrialinsight.com, where I help industrial engineers in their career endeavors. So anything from finding a job to resume to interviews. So feel free to check that out. And if you have any questions, you can reach me at zubin@industrialinsight.com. And I also have a short gift for your readers. I have a short guide on the 3 elements which make a perfect industrial engineering resume. So feel free to download it.
All right, thanks, Zubin. Thank you for being a guest, and I hope you guys got something out of this interview.
All right, thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Hey guys, I hope you guys found that video helpful. If you just graduated college, or you're still in college and you're looking for a job or an internship, check out wayup.com. Also, earlier this year, I published my book, New Grad Job Hacks, the complete guide to getting your first job after college. It's currently rated at 5 stars on Amazon, so if you want to get that, click on the annotation. And with that being said, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Experience in digital marketing and makes over $100,000. And he only has to go into the office once a week. With that being said, I hope you guys get something out of this episode.